Hi everyone, it's MrMostDaysOff from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. I want to say thank you so much for tuning into our podcast and also let you know of 3 additional ways you can help out the show. First, you can find and buy our merchandise at tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. You can also support our sponsors popthreads.com for all your other t-shirt needs and use our discount code Simpsons at checkout. And finally, you can find us on patreon.com. Thank you again so much for listening to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and please enjoy this week's podcast. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by 2 dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as MrMostDaysOff, and today we're going to be a couple of bad boys on the beat, and I'm of course going to be joined by my partner in crime and your co-host with the most, Richie the WizKid. How you doing today, Rich?
You know, I don't think I can be a bad boy if Marge is the one that's going to be hunting us down, because she is a complete badass in this episode.
What isn't Marge great at, honestly?
Yeah, when she puts her heart and soul into something, she really goes after it, doesn't she?
And she's even significantly more attractive in this episode with, like, how fit she is. I don't know if that works on anyone else.
I was trying to think of a double entendre involving cops, but I'm just going to... I was like, oh, yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. But we got plenty to talk about as usual. Let me officially, and you know, what's the police word for official? I don't know. Let me just throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the Momar. It is Miles.
Allegedly, Momar. So we are, of course, talking about the Springfield connection today. A really fun episode. Another one that I remember the general concept, and I remember I remember a lot of the sequences and a lot of the jokes, but I didn't necessarily remember the entire episode front to back. There was a lot that I just kind of didn't realize was in this episode, or, you know, things that had just kind of gone by the wayside as I remember the generalized plot, because it has been some time since I've seen this episode.
See, for me, it was kind of the opposite. I remembered most of this episode through and through, but just because I think I've seen this one somewhat recently. And it's a great episode.
Were you brushing up on finding some discount jeans?
Yeah. I mean, everyone thinks about it.
All right, let's go ahead and dive right into this episode. Again, we're talking about the Springfield connection today, which originally aired on May 7th, 1995. We get a chalkboard gag. I will not mock Mrs. Dumbface.
Yeah, the damn right you won't. Wait, what?
Brilliant. I love the simplicity of this joke, but it's so great. Really, really funny. The couch gag is a repeat, but it's a really good one. It's Bond. Homer Bond. As we see the classic Homer walks across, we get the scope going in on him, and he turns and points and shoots the screen.
Still think that might be my favorite couch gag.
It's a really good couch gag. We start out the episode at an evening at the Springfield Pops at Jebediah Springfield Park. Now, this is, in fact, supposed to be designed to look like the, at the time, recently remodeled Hollywood Bowl, which is a relatively famous or popular venue to see performances in Hollywood, of all places. We see an interesting sign here because we notice that on the dates both before and after this performance, there's a spraying for medflies. And a little interesting fun fact, just for those people who like to go along, at least before Matt Groening officially said it was in Oregon, which is a little bit weird with what I'm about to tell you. Did you know that there is only one state in the United States that sprays for medflies, Richie?
Is it somewhere on the West Coast, Miles?
It is, and in 1989, there is actually an infestation of medflies in California, which is what this is referencing, where they actually would have to spray.
Out in California way.
The medfly, by the way, is actually short or a nickname for the Mediterranean fruit fly, which again had an outbreak in 1989. And the Mediterranean fruit fly is capable of causing extensive damage to a wide range of fruit crops. It's actually native to sub-Saharan Africa, but it has made its way to Australia, North and South America.
So it hopped a ride on a helicopter on the way to all those other places, right?
Yeah, and then we got that like doomed look in its eye as we pan to the end of the episode or flight or whatever.
Damn medflies.
But yes, in between these medfly sprayings, we see Homer and Marge enjoying an evening at the orchestra from a top of a hill, sitting on a blanket, which is my favorite way to watch concerts, to be fair. Lawn seats for life. You can get away with so much more out there. Marge is so glad that they got a chance to get out of the house and come downtown for a little bit of culture.
They're butchering the classics. Could that bassoon have come in any more late?
Aw, come on, Homer. There's lasers. You like lasers.
Laser effects, mirrored balls. John Williams must be rolling around in his grave.
And we actually hear the music from Star Wars playing, which is pretty dope. Though it does eventually transition into Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
And you see laser effects like actually shooting around too. It looks like it's really awesome.
I like how smug Dr. Hibbert is here.
Devilishly satirical. I wonder if anyone else got that.
We cut back to Homer and Marge, who are now ready to get out of here. And Homer actually starts dragging Marge along. Real quick note, John Williams is a very, very famous music composer who was born all the way back in February of 1932.
And is very much still alive, by the way.
I honestly thought he was dead because of the rolling in his grave. I now understand that is actually a joke. Okay, so John Williams, really famous guy, and he's actually worked on a lot, and I do mean a lot, of really cool music scores. Everything from, obviously, Star Wars that was featured right here in this episode, but also things like Jurassic Park, Jaws, E.T., Indiana Jones, and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And now that I realize this, I think it's basically anything Spielberg has ever worked on. He has been a part of, but more things too, like Home Alone and Harry Potter and Saving Private Ryan. All sorts, and the list just keeps going on and on and on and on of how many great movies this guy has been a part of. So,
if you're watching a movie,
cool
more
reference.
than likely John Williams is the one that did the composing for it.
It's either that
Mark
or
Mothersbaugh.
Alan Silvestri, right?
I was going to go Mark Mothersbaugh, but yeah, sure.
I guess we could also go with Alf Clausen.
Yes.
Homer and Marge are walking through the streets of downtown, which can be very dangerous for upper, lower, middle class types such as themselves. Avoid eye contact, watch your pocketbook, and suspect everyone.
3-card Monty.
Woohoo! Easy money! Homer is easily swayed by the alluring appeal of the shady side of downtown, and we see Snake running a 3-card Monty stand with a man that looks very, very familiar and also sounds very, very familiar. Whoa, I like totally win again.
Way to go, bro.
Marge kind of realizes what's going on.
She doesn't kind of, she
warn
absolutely
Homer.
realizes.
She knows.
Yeah.
He looks and acts just like the dealer. I think they're related, or at least in cahoots.
Just pick the red card. It's totally not hard.
So Homer, of course, throws down his $20 and instantly loses. He does not find the red card. But Marge realizes instantly that Homer's been cheated. She flips over the other cards, revealing that all 3 aces were black. And Snake, I love this.
Surely you don't blame me.
It's people like you who are ruining our downtown promenades and piazzas. How dare you prey on the greedy and stupid like this?
Talking about her own husband. Bye-bye.
And I will note on the commentary as well, words like promenades and piazzas are specifically thought of as words that would just be funny to be said by Marge. They've done this in the past, we've talked about, but sometimes they spend a good amount of time in the writer's room just trying to find a good line to make certain characters say certain things that they know will be inherently funny just because that character is saying them.
Well, and you know Marge means business because she got all fancied up for this with her white pearls, not her reds.
Yes, I was also going to make note of that. She has a subtle little change to her normal look. It's her fancy orchestra concert look.
Her John Williams pearls.
And Marge actually is the one that's yelling out, somebody should stop him. But when nobody reacts, she realizes if no one else is going to do it, she will.
He's getting away. Come on, come on.
Marge takes off running, and Homer actually goes running along with her, but only for about 3 steps before he becomes completely winded and gasping for air.
Another one of those moments where it's the way Dan delivers it that really sells the animation over the top.
Yeah, it's such a good combination, both from the animation and the voice acting side. And from the animation side, I love the way that we see this pursuit happen, because we have a close-up on Snake's face as he's running away. And in the background, we can just slowly start to see Marge's hair as she's catching up to him in the corner. It's really, really well done. And she actually gets him all the way cornered before he kind of turns the tables on her. He pulls out a knife and he starts coming at her.
Kind of a dark moment.
Yeah.
I must warn you, sometimes ordinary people, they get a surge of adrenaline.
And as she's saying this, she actually kind of stumbles into a trash can, grabs the lid, and smacks Snake across the face.
See?
We see Wiggum and some other policemen arrive on the scene. Cuff 'em, boys. We're putting this dirtbag away.
I'm really sorry. I forgot to mention that you hear, during this whole bit with Snake and Marge, you hear a bunch of the townspeople clamoring after Marge points out that it's rigged. And like one that just made me completely bust out laughing that I don't remember ever noticing this before in the past, which really blew my mind, was you literally hear one guy say, "You're giving 3-Card Mountie a bad name." And that just I don't remember ever hearing him.
Tarnishing its good reputation. I also really love, though, when Wiggum does get Snake in cuffs, as he's complaining about, or not complaining, he's bragging that he'll be back on the streets within 24 hours.
We'll try to make it 12. And Wiggum bothers me in this episode, honestly.
Is it the hair?
Yeah, every time it's at nighttime, I feel like they're using old footage or something, because he's got black hair every time there's a night scene. And then when it's day scene, it's all blue hair.
They talked a little bit about this, and they debated on the commentary if this was an animation error or not. And I think they ultimately kind of agreed it was just a little bit maybe lazy on some parts, but ultimately they never really came to much of a conclusion, and I think they all agreed it doesn't really matter. And speaking of, the commentary on this episode, by the way, featured Matt Groening, David Merkin, John Collier, the writer of this episode, Mark Kirkland, the director, Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, and Yeardley Smith, who is, of course, the voice of Lisa Simpson.
No Julie Kavner in this one, eh?
You know, I've noticed that from the voice actor side of things, the top 2 by far are Dan Castellaneta and Yeardley Smith. I don't know if they're just always hurting for lunch or what, but they constantly, as far as voice actors go, they're definitely more prominently featured, at least in the season 5 and 6 commentaries.
I wonder if it's who happened to be in the office that day.
It very easily could be, or just maybe other people had different schedules that don't allot for things. Who knows? I don't have any insight on that, but I have noticed that Dan Castellaneta and Yeardley are definitely the top 2, voice actor-wise.
The more you know.
So, the big takeaway from this whole experience is Marge has gotten a bit of a rush. She admitted it was frightening, but in a weird way, it was also kind of exhilarating.
Yes, it is exhilarating to see the police get their man and save a hysterical woman.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Easy now, sweetheart. Homie's here.
So Homer might not appreciate the courage his wife displayed, but Lisa and Bart sure do. Back at home, as Marge shares the story of what happened, Lisa could not be more impressed, and she actually is kind of showing off a little when she asks her mother, "Hey Mom, did you catch the bad guy like this?" And she takes full advantage of Bart in this situation. He is completely pinned and at her mercy.
Face it, Lise. You're too puny to... Ah! Ow! Lisa, unhand your brother.
Yeah, like that really hurt. Oh. Marge goes on to explain that catching the bad guy was really exciting, but celery soup's also pretty exciting. And we see that she's not even buying it anymore as she's become bored with her day-to-day routine. And this continues even further into the supermarket the next day when even she admits that, strange, regular ham bores me now. I'm crossing over to deviled ham. And this is where Marge's spirit of adventure really starts to take off because she puts caution to the wind and starts running down the aisle with her cart, and she jumps on just like a child or myself would do and starts riding the momentum of her cart all the way down the aisle. She has her eyes closed, and when she opens them, she realizes that she might be having a little bit too much fun because she's headed right for a giant block of cheese, and she cannot stop. I love this sequence so much. I think especially because it's Marge and you get to see her in this rare moment where she's kind of, letting her hair down a little bit. She'll more figuratively do that, or more literally do that later, I mean. Her cart actually just crashes and disappears straight into this cheese block, and she just kind of nonchalantly walks away.
It technically doesn't crash. It just gets engulfed into the huge block of, I guess, literal cheese.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get that, but it made it more funny, so it's okay.
The fact that there was no collision and it really was just like kind of being sucked into the blob.
Yeah. And I like how there must be a marketing ploy where they use Itchy to sell cheese, so I wonder what brand that is.
Probably Itchy and Scratchy brand or Krusty brand with the Krusty stamp of approval.
Crusty cheese.
Hey, kids. I always do Woody Woodpecker. You've got the better Krusty by far.
If it's not crummy, it's not crusty.
We move on to the newsstand where Marge has a magazine waiting for her. The store owner recognizes her and hands her her copy of Sponge and Vacuum magazine, which features an exciting preview of all of the 1996 sponges coming out. But Marge is just not into the sponge and vacuuming like she used to be, and she actually turns her attention to Death Sports, or the section of magazines called Death Sports, I should say, because it features magazines Bear Baiter, Rock Jumper, the magazine for people who love to jump from rock to rock, Mosh Pitter, Danger Liker, featuring an article about minefields, playgrounds for the 90s, Cliff Biker, and Glass Eater. And I love the article featured in Glass Eater. Wine bottles are 10 favorite vintages.
And I can never say the dude's name that's given her this magazine, the Benevinstanciano, but like she says it so quick. Like I wonder how many takes that took to do that.
She probably got it in one because she's a professional. You'll notice that I didn't even attempt to say it for a reason.
And we didn't even mention before when she was taking the groceries home, when she's using the automatic garage door opener and she waits until the literal last minute to tuck and roll out of the garage.
It reminded me of the sequence with Bart doing a similar move with the Indiana Jones opening. But yeah, Marge is clearly getting off on this action to the wire lifestyle, and something was ignited in her the night that she encountered Snake in the alley.
Yeah, she's got the need to feed on that adrenaline rush.
And she takes that need all the way to the police station where we see the
Not
cops.
to the bank?
And we see Wiggum, Lou, and Eddie as Marge approaches, and they're dealing with something. Wiggum says, "All right, get in there."
"You're going down. I want a piece of him."
"You think you're pretty hot, huh? Well, we got everything we need on you." And then we see that everybody's just grabbing a piece of pizza with everything on it. I love that joke so much.
I wonder if that pizza's big enough for Wiggum in tow.
It didn't look like it, to be honest. Marge is doing her best not to interrupt, but she picked a really bad time, of course. What? This better be about pizza.
Actually, I'm interested in becoming a police officer.
Welcome aboard. And this whole sequence right here is actually David Merkin's favorite joke. He can't explain why. He doesn't really understand why it's even funny. He thinks it's even less funny when he insisted that it be used again at the end of the episode. But it makes him laugh every single time. And I kind of understand that because it's really funny, but it's hard to picture exactly what the joke is.
And again, we bring this up almost on a weekly basis. I hate that we have to do it, but it's like, yet again, this quick little bit, you feel like it's still important even in today's society.
Yeah, I could see that in terms of thinking about it from like a feminist standpoint. But I think the joke is here that, you know, the idea that they're laughing at a woman wanting to be a cop, but then they're just like, yeah, that's fine.
Or maybe the fact that The Simpsons was still progressive even back in the 90s.
95. Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely. I really like this next transition, too. Going back to the Simpsons home, we see Homer, what we think he's overreacting, or at least reacting to this news. You did what?
I borrowed your nail clipper. What's the big deal?
It's actually Bart he's talking to. Oh, nothing. I'm just a little edgy since your mother told me she wants to be a cop.
Cool. Will you bring me along when you do evictions?
You got it, little buddy.
Marge, you being a cop makes you the man, which makes me the woman, and I have no interest in that, besides occasionally wearing the underwear, which, as we discussed, is strictly a comfort thing.
Homer, there's no reason for you to feel threatened. You'll always be the man of this house.
Aw, thanks, honey.
And I love this. They actually kiss, and Homer lifts his leg at like a 90-degree angle. Very reminiscent of a couple of famous shots where women do that very same thing. We see Marge actually reports to her basic training, and Wiggum is there to greet all of the scrawny beanpoles. Becoming a cop is not something that happens overnight. It takes one solid weekend of training to get that badge.
Forget about the badge. When do we get the freaking guns?
Hey, I told you. You don't get your gun until you tell me your name.
I've had it up to here with your rules.
And this is another great performance by Dan Castellaneta, who's just playing a very scary, angry man. Again, something else that seems a little bit too on the nose, even for 23 years prior.
Yeah.
Just really, really funny performance, though. He gets very angry and over the top and just wants his weapon.
And Wiggum prevents act of terror here because the guy can't tell him his name. The dude just walks off.
And surely there's nothing like a little bit of like detective work that he could do to find this terrorist threat, but it's fine.
He's not going to do police work. He's going to do pizza work.
And speaking of pizza versus police work, I would challenge that Marge is the only person on this force that can do what we see her do in this next montage. We see her running up a hill carrying cinder blocks and swinging Spider-Man-like across a ropes course. The only spot she actually has any trouble with at all is the wall. And I love that she's seen climbing over the wall and then Wiggum approaches.
Trying to.
Yeah, she's attempting to before Wiggum approaches. Women always seem to have trouble with the wall. They can never seem to find the door. And we pan out and see that everyone else is just walking through the door that's clearly in place there. And Marge is the only one even attempting to climb the wall. Really funny stuff.
Silly woman.
Cringy. This moves on to the shooting range where we see Marge walking through a training course where there's cardboard pop-ups of both criminals and innocent people, such as blind men and women with babies. But there's also plenty of threats, like people with guns. And Marge is crushing it. She goes through, she hits every target square that she's supposed to. She skips over the ones that you would think you weren't supposed to. And real fun fact about this little sequence, Mark Kirkland, the director of this episode, actually got a call from Korea at 3 o'clock in the morning because the Korean animation studio had no idea how to draw a gun actually firing. The idea of the shell flying out of the side of the gun was very confusing to them. and they needed some more clarification. Guns were actually outlawed in Korea. They might still be, I don't know, but they definitely were at that time. And therefore,
not in North Korea, but
therefore it was giving some issues again to the animation studio. So since he couldn't actually tell them to look at a real gun, he recommended a list of action movies to check out, and most of them, he said, starred Mel Gibson.
Not a bad way to go, I guess.
Yeah. I love, though, as Marge completes this course, and the animation came out great, by the way, but as Marge completes this course, Wiggum actually comes out to tell her how she did. You missed the baby? You missed the blind man? And finally, we get to the last test, a high-speed drive in a police cruiser. There's cones, there's jumps, there's even an incomplete freeway a la the bus that couldn't slow down, where they have to clear the gap. And she absolutely crushes it again, only to pull up to the finish line and hear Wiggum say, "Oh, sorry, Simpson. You'll have to do the course again. I was trying to get this magic eye thing to work." "Ah, look at that. Heh, a pony."
Yeah, fuck you, Wiggum.
Did you do magic eyes when you were a kid?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, I used
Absolutely.
to too. I'm wondering if they didn't cause permanent vision damage to our generation. I don't have any science or facts or evidence on this. It just always made me think.
we could go with the fact that I was the first time my father showed me how to do one of those. I saw them everywhere all the time, and I was always super fast at getting them, and I always saw the picture. Oh yeah, I would say scientifically proven since I have terrible vision.
There it is, the one and only case study needed to make a strong declaration. We see Marge actually return home and declares, "Hey everybody, Mom's home!" And as everyone in the family turns to stare at Marge, we see from the bottom up she has a cop uniform, and she looks really proud until you get to her torso and it's revealed that she's wearing a Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt.
They didn't have my size shirt, but you get the idea.
And that's actually going to bring us to the end of our first act. We're going to go ahead and take a quick pause for the cause, check the police scanners, make sure that we're not on the lam, and we'll be right back after we hear from some buddies of ours.
We're always on the lam.
Are you afraid of what goes bump in the night?
Have you or your friends ever pondered a conspiracy?
Do you want to know more about the unknown?
If so, then put on your tinfoil hat, sit down, and pick up your computer, tablet, or phone. Go to iTunes or YouTube and search for Secret Transmission Podcast and listen to us try to explain the unexplainable.
Follow us on Twitter for updates on shows.
At Secret Trans Pod. That's SecretTranspod.
Or you can email us suggestions
at secrettransmission@hotmail.com. That's SecretTransmission@hotmail.com.
Greetings, friend. Do you wish to look as happy as me? Well, you've got the power inside you right now, so use it and send $1 to Best Darn Diddly. You can find us on patreon.com or donate to us directly on PayPal at bestdarndiddly@gmail.com. Don't delay. Eternal happiness is just $1 away.
$1 for eternal happiness and to support one of my favorite podcasts. I'd be happier with $1.
We come back to the start of our second act with Marge in her full police uniform sitting at the breakfast table. The rest of the family is eating a standard normal breakfast, but Marge is actually having coffee and donuts because, of course, she's now a cop. I absolutely love, possibly for low-key might be my favorite joke in this episode. It's probably not. I don't know. I'll say that many times. You know me. But Bart had something to say to his mother.
Wow, Mom. I never pictured you as any kind of authority figure before.
I love that so much. It's perfect. Marge, I want you to take care of yourself out there. You've become very dear to me.
I always have. It gets me every time because it's like you've only now become very dear to me.
Right, yeah. After this however long a marriage and 2 children, at least 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, homie, of course I will.
And Lisa pipes in, Mom, if someone shot at the mayor, would you have to throw yourself in front of him to take the bullet?
I suppose I would.
What if they shot at a Coke machine?
No.
A TV?
No.
A TV with a picture of the mayor on it?
Whatever you do, Mom, we'll be proud of you.
Well, thank you, honey.
As long as it's constitutional.
And then we see she has to gripe at Homer for using her pepper spray on his eggs.
Oh, Marge, one squirt and you're south of the border. Incapacitated.
Okay, I lied. That's my favorite joke in the episode. And I love how red his eyes get because he's straight up eating pepper spray. It's hilarious. And we see Marge reporting for her first day at work, and it's Wiggum giving the assignments. All right, settle people. People settle. People. Ward and Van Zulen, stake out Donut Land. When they fry up a fresh batch, call it in. Canelli and Earhart, back 'em up. Fitz and Garcia, it's your turn to sleep in. And I love Fitz and Garcia put on sleeping caps.
Are they always on duty? Because we never see any of these other cops
I guess
before.
so. You know, speaking of hats, since we're on the subject real quick, I will say again on the commentary, they talked about the original designs they were kind of playing with when Marge was going to become a cop. Because remember, as we've learned in the past, talking to Mike Reese and some of the other Simpsons writers, anytime they create anything new, it's something that they have to physically create in that world. So they had no idea what Marge would look like as a cop. When they first drew her, they actually had the hat sitting on top of her tall blue hair, and it just looked really ridiculous. So they decided they would go with a more down hairstyle for this episode, as it made her look more legitimate as a police officer.
More badass. Officer Badass reporting for duty.
Exactly. And it was very important to them from the very beginning that Marge would always be a serious cop. Like there would be nothing comical about Marge as a police officer other than the ridiculous world that she lived in. Which really works for this episode.
A good juxtaposition.
But yeah, Seeing as it is her first day, Wiggum has a special assignment for her. He's going to take it easy since she's inexperienced and vulnerable. Your beat is Junkieville and Bumtown.
Right into the fire.
Which we know from this next sequence that both Lionel Hutz and Apu are in this part of Springfield, which is just sad for Apu, really. But I love she first encounters Mr. Hutz, Lionel Hutz, the lawyer, of course, digging through the dumpster outside in an alley.
I'll have you know the contents of that dumpster are private. You stick your nose in, you'll be violating attorney dumpster confidentiality.
I just wanted to say hello.
Oh, hello.
And then you see as Marge walks away, he throws a match in the dumpster and there's a huge fire. So Marge walks around the corner and visits the Quickie Mart to say hello to Apu, and Apu has an unusual reaction to the uniform.
So, you are the new cop on the beat. Okay, I know the drill. What will it be? 100, 200?
200. Oh, no, I mean nothing. I don't take bribes.
Yes, of course you don't. I will just leave this money on the table with my unseeing back to the money on the table.
Apu, no. And they both actually turn around, so no one's facing the money. And in the background, we see Mr. Burns walk by. The beauty of this joke right here is how fast it happens, because it's so fucking quick. If you've ever seen one of those videos of like a lizard eating a fly with their tongue, it's like that. Mr. Burns walks by, his hand like slaps the cash and pulls it into his pocket instantly, and he just strolls right by. When Marge and Apu both turn around to face each other, I love that they both just assume that the other one did what they thought they would do and took the money, when in reality, Mr. Burns just became $200 richer.
The other beauty of that quick moment is, I don't know if we've ever seen Mr. Burns in the Quickie Mart before this moment, and I don't know if we ever will see him again.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. What the fuck is Mr. Burns doing at the Quickie Mart? Is he looking for Rosebud? Bobo!
But he already has him.
Yeah, but maybe he turned up again in a, a heady bag. Next up on her newfound exciting job, Marge has her first call where she has to report to a domestic disturbance. We see Principal Skinner and his mother have gotten into some sort of disagreement, we'll say.
This whole thing is shot kind of like a... I almost said Bad Boys. A cops segment.
Sure. Real cops.
Yes.
Real cops. Yeah, we see it's like a handy cam type of situation, and Skinner's there explaining, there's an inflatable bath pillow that Mother and I both enjoy. She claimed it was her day to use it. I maintained she was mistaken. We quarreled. Later, as I prepared the bath, I noticed to my horror that someone had slashed the pillow.
Uh-huh. Who called the police?
We both did.
Look, why don't you two settle down? I'm sure you can get another pillow.
Well, I could send it back to Taiwan for repair, but why should I have to? I've done nothing wrong. And I don't give permission for my face to be on TV. I want it blurred. And he actually leans into the camera, and his face is visible the entire time, except after he says he wants it blurred, which is for a few seconds as they close out the shot. And it's been a full, long week already for Marge, and we see her relaxing on her day off back at the Simpsons home, where all she wants to do is relax and forget that she's part of that thin blue line that stands between civilization and chaos. Until Bart walks by, and she immediately can't help herself as she snaps into cop mode.
Bart, it's illegal for you to operate that Class 9 vehicle without pads and a helmet.
But Mom...
It's for your own safety.
And this is brilliant because we immediately cut to the bullies all beating the crap out of Bart as he wears his pads. Take that, safety boy!
This padding... It's so easy on the knuckles. I could punch all day.
Poor Bart. We also see that Marge takes some time on her day off to visit the salon, but things get a little bit weird for her because as soon as she enters the building, the once very chattery and lively salon noises instantly stop. We see that Maude, Mrs. Skinner, and Edna Krabappel are all getting their hair did and having a good time until Marge comes in and, again, just kind of puts a stop to everything. When she asks how the ladies are doing, specifically Miss Krabappel, she just responds, I'm law-abiding, and she leaves.
I'm done.
We also see Mo at the salon, and Marge is every bit as surprised to see him there as we are.
Well... These days, my roots don't stay so chestnut on their own, Officer Simpson.
You don't have to call me officer. I'm not on duty here. But across the room, the barber lowers the chair, and it has a popping sound. Could sound similar to a gunshot, and Marge goes once again into hardcore cop mode. She does a freaking roll, like a pursuit roll thing. It's really kind of crazy, athletic, and cool. She draws her gun mid-roll and immediately freaks everyone out. And again, Simpsons freaking ahead of their time on social commentary. We could definitely make a case or hear a case that there are some overreactive cops out there.
Yeah, we could. We could also point out, Miles, that it's kind of a weird animation moment because she was already standing next to Mo, it seemed like, talking to him. And then when this instance happens, she rolls on the floor back to the spot she was already at because the ladies were on one side and Mo and somebody else were on the other. And it's just kind of weird when I see it now. I don't know.
You don't understand the logistical purposes of police strategy, sir. That's the problem.
Sure, Miles. Sure.
But yes, being a cop is not all it seems like it should be for Marge right now. She's starting to see that there is a negative side to this. Homer, however, only sees the positive so far, including the fact that he now has some police tape to pull a wonderfully cruel prank on his neighbor. We see that he's actually taped up Ned Flanders' front yard, despite Lisa's protest telling her father that her mom's police tape is not a toy. But when Ned arrives, Homer ducks behind the corner and takes a lot of glee in the fact that Ned now thinks something terrible has happened at his own house.
And that Lisa was trying to wreck Daddy's fun.
We see Ned walking up and he's just singing and in good spirits at first.
Clearly walking and not driving, which he has done in every instance before this one, but it would ruin the joke if he was driving.
Bringing in the sheaves, bringing in... Oh my lord! Something horrible has happened!
Fooled you, Flanders. Made you think your family was dead. Don't you get it?
Ned just looks absolutely horrified in this moment, and he's trying to comply or go along with Homer.
You thought... They're not, though.
Oh.
But you thought they were.
Yeah.
That's why it was so funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they're not dead, Ned. Not yet, at least.
Oh, darker. Marge is getting an opportunity to show her daughter around the workplace, though. She takes her to the police station and shows off Barney, who's in the drunk tank. And she shows off her desk.
Mom, I know your intentions are good, but aren't the police the protective force that maintains the status quo for the wealthy elite? Don't you think we ought to attack the roots of social problems instead of jamming people into overcrowded prisons?
We get a long, awkward pause where Marge just kind of stares blankly, but she has prepared for this, or the police station really has prepared for this. She pulls out a puppet of a dog in a trench coat that is definitely not licensed in any way, because this is McGriff, the crime dog, and she uses her puppet to say, "Hey, Lisa, help me bite crime. Ruff, ruff." So the full story on this on the commentary is that they actually reached out and wanted to use the real life McGruff, and they thought, seeing as the manner they were using it, they would have no problem with them doing so. If anything, it might be good for their cause, which they thought was, admirable. However, they were turned down and were said that McGruff would not be associated with their show, so they did the closest legal parody possible.
And we definitely didn't actually use his name, so don't come after us.
Well, and you'll notice he also never actually took a bite out of crime.
If anything, he only endorsed more.
We cut back to the Simpsons home once again, and we see a poker game is getting started in the Simpsons living room. We've got Lenny, Homer, Moe, Herman, and Carl all playing with the girls of the internet nudie deck.
Ooh, I'd go online with them any day.
Everyone kind of hoots and hollers for a second, and Herman actually walks away. They think they've offended him, but he claims he just needs some fresh air. I love Moe's response here, though.
Jeez, that guy sure likes his fresh air. None of that for me.
He starts choking on this giant cigar.
Oh, yeah.
Carl points out something that everyone was probably thinking. Hey, Homer, are you sure it's okay to smoke Cuban cigars and gamble in here now that your wife's a cop?
Are you kidding? Being a cop husband is one mighty sweet deal. This police radio entertains me with other people's miseries. We get a free funeral for Marge, God forbid, and I can run background checks on whomever I want. Momar.
Homer, please, ixnay on the Owamame.
Hey, hurry it up with the cards, Lenny.
And you see Homer's actually pointing a radar gun, speedometer thing at the deck of cards as he's shuffling.
I've got you clocked at 2 miles per hour.
Come on, put that away. Those radar guns give you cancer.
All the more reason for you to hurry up. Hey, what can be coming 100 miles per... Ow!
Money actually punches him in the face. I love the whole, it's giving me cancer, better hurry up. That's great.
What I don't understand is, how did they get Cuban cigars to this little soiree here? Like, who paid somebody, or is this something Herman brought with him from his earnings, from what we'll find out later? Like, why do they have Cubans?
I mean, they're not actually that hard to come by, really.
Well, okay. That answered that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can have at a party, Richie, that you're not technically supposed to have.
But I thought Cubans were expensive.
That might be. I don't really know. I'm not much of a cigar smoker.
Yeah, I thought that was like the top of the line. I mean, there are no Zubins.
Nope, it's literally, so I used to, when I was younger, I used to think Cuban was code to mean that they had weed in them, but that is totally not the case. The only reason that they're illegal is because of the embargo that we have with Cuba. So they might not even be illegal anymore for all I know.
That's true. But back in 1995, I tells you what's...
Yeah, that's it. But they're not even, apparently I've talked to some cigar smokers who claim that they only are popular because they're illegal. They're not even that great of cigars. There's better places to get them legally. But either way, the joke is, of course, that they aren't legal. And when Marge comes into her kitchen, she does not react the way that Homer expected her to.
Illegal gambling in my house?
Your house? Your house? Gee, it's so glamorously decorated. I thought we was in Vegas. Hey, you guys lied to me. You said it was Vegas.
Yeah, well, we'll be going.
So everyone starts to crash out, and Homer's pissed at Marge for chasing all of his poker buddies away.
I didn't mean to, which is super sweet of Marge to say in that instance, because she's all in the right here.
Well, I mean, she legit was just, protecting the law, which she's sworn to do. And again, Marge is the type of admirable person who she even points out herself at parts of this episode we'll get to, where it's this is the type of person you want to be a cop.
Yep.
But Homer is not accepting this well. You've become such a cop, and not that long ago you were so much more to me. You were a cleaner of pots, a sewer of buttons, an unclogger of my hairy clogs.
Homer, why? I'm still all those things, and now I'm cleaning up the city, sewing together the social fabric, and unplugging the clogs of our legal system.
You're cooking what for dinner?
Oh
my goodness. How, this right here might be the moment more than any other so far that it's just so amazing that Marge just doesn't straight up leave this guy.
I mean, he has a crayon in his brain. We can always go back to that.
I guess so, but this is Marge is being...
He should know better than
very
to say that.
Reasonable here.
After coming home from a long day out on the streets, yeah. Homer's lucky he didn't get punched in the face, basically.
Very much so. And Marge is starting to, not necessarily just because of this incident, but definitely contributed by this incident, Marge is starting to lose her love of the police force. She's kind of frustrated because everywhere she looks, someone's breaking the law. Dog no leash, man littering, horse not wearing a diaper, car parked across 3 handicapped spaces. Homer!
Well, who would do that? Oh, whoops.
I love the horse not wearing diaper is my favorite.
Yeah. Hey, Marge, how's my little piglet? Which is the worst thing to say to your wife who's a cop.
I love that nickname. Homer, I'm on duty.
That's okay. I'm supposed to be working, too.
Another great line. You have to move your car.
I'll just be a second, Marge. I'm going to get some beer for those kids over there. He even says the word kids.
He says the word kids, and it's Dolph, Kearney, and Jimbo smiling and waving from the alley. I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear that, but you have to move your car right now.
I'll be right back. Now keep your eyes peeled for a real cop.
Oh, and that was it. That was the moment. You can see Marge snap just a little bit because she did not like that real cop remark. That's it. I'm going to write you a ticket.
But Marge, we're family.
You're breaking the law.
I'll make you a deal. You rip up that ticket, and I'll give you back your hats. Huh!
And this is where Homer officially crosses the line when he actually snatches
Legally?
Marge's police uniform cap off of her head and starts taunting her. And he's not taking Marge seriously even a little bit when she tells him that taking an officer's cap is an arrestable offense.
Ooh, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do, huh? Oh, I'm Officer Marge. I'm going to arrest you.
Snap,
What?
snap.
Marge, not here. Hey, you're not really arresting me.
You have the right to remain silent.
I choose to waive that right.
And the screaming just goes on and on and on, all the way till the screen fades black and brings us to the end of our second act with Marge arresting her own husband right in front of everyone. We're going to go ahead and take another real quick break, but we'll be right back for the conclusion of the Springfield connection.
Okay, MrMostDaysOff. Now we're ready for the TeePublic ad.
Head over to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly right now to support our show. Get yourself some Best Darn Diddly merchandise and help grow our podcast. I messed up there. Can I get another take?
Okay, just a second. Out of the way, amateur. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. Go to popthreads.com and save 15% with the discount code Simpsons. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to bestdarndiddly.com to get all your podcast needs from the greatest show on earth. Learn from a professional, kid. All right, Krusty. We're ready for your take. Krusty?
Hi, it's Mike Reese. I've been writing for The Simpsons for 30 years. I ran the show in seasons 3 and 4. I created The Critic. And now I've written a book. It's called Springfield Confidential, and it is the first insider's look at The Simpsons. It's filled with secrets, scandals, and tales of censorship and celebrities. It's a great book. It's like a Simpsons episode. It's fast, it's smart, and it's packed with hundreds of jokes, some of them funny. Please buy Springfield Confidential. You can order it now on Amazon.com.
We come back for our third act and see that Police Chief Wiggum is ready to let Homer out of jail, but Homer's not quite ready to leave just yet.
Let me finish this last lobster tail and raspberry tort.
And we see him munching down on a very extravagant meal. In the jail cell next to his, we see Reverend Lovejoy counseling Hans Moleman.
All right, Hans, time to go.
But he ate my last meal.
Well, if that's the worst thing that happens to you today, consider yourself lucky.
That's so fucked up. Are you really allowed to execute people in a local jail?
From this point on, no talking. I want to know what Mole Man did to end up on death row in a.
So on the comment, that's actually a really good question. On the commentary, though, Matt Groening just could not stop laughing at this line and said that you could basically end almost any sequence with this line, and it works perfectly. He quotes it all the time, but it's such a dark joke considering that from this point on is literally referring to for the rest of his very short remaining life. Back at home, however, Marge is still actually apologizing to Homer, despite the fact that I really don't feel like that's necessary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to arrest you, Homer, but what I did was right. Someday when you really need it, you're going to be happy there are dedicated cops out there like me, which I couldn't agree more. Like, this is, again, the type of person you want being an officer.
I have nothing more to say to you, Marge. I'm drawing a line down the center of the house a la I Love Lucy. You stay on your side, and I'll stay on my side.
And he actually draws out the line, but he puts himself in a corner because he wasn't really thinking it through too well.
Go! That's the ad that used to play back on the CW when we were kids for this episode. They would always play that little 5 seconds right there where he says that line and draws himself into a corner. And it made me want to see the episode so much more every time I saw the ad.
It's a good bit. I mean, and again, it's straight up. They even call themselves out. This is something you've seen on I Love Lucy or The Odd Couple. There are many other sitcoms, many other times. And it's just Homerized, and it's perfect. Homer's really struggling with all of this, his wife arresting him thing, because he's actually talking to his poker buddies about it. Boy, when Marge first told me she was going to the police academy, I thought it'd be fun and exciting. You know, like that movie Spaceballs. But instead, it's been painful and disturbing, like that movie Police Academy.
Get him, Homer.
Homer. Barney is quick to cut Homer off, though, with some urgent news.
Hey, Homer, I'm worried about the beer supply. After this case, and the other case, there's only one case left. Oh, yeah. Oh, Barney's right. Yeah, let's drink some more beer. Yeah. Hey, what about some beer? Yeah, Barney, right.
All right, guys, pipe down. I love Homer responds as if there's multiple people saying this and not just Barney. He declares they've got some more in the garage, but Herman is very quick to say, I'll get it for you, Homer.
I wonder why he's so eager to go to the garage.
The garage? Hey, fellas, the garage. Well, ooh la la dee la, Mr. Frenchman.
What do you call it, Mo?
A car hole.
I love the little throwback they'll do to this joke in literally 20 seconds.
Just a second. Yeah, it's a really quick callback for sure. But we see why Herman has been taking so many fresh air breaks to the garage. And it's actually
an open garage.
he's meeting up with somebody who's interested in buying some quality merchandise. And Herman opens up some suspicious briefcases. And of course, they find the most just sinful and degrading substances on the planet.
But they're fabulous.
They're knockoff designer jeans. And Merkin
counterfeit
points out that
jeans?
this was and Merkin points out in the commentary, this was a direct parody of the fact that just everybody at the time in the 90s was coming out with these ridiculous designer jeans. So, of course, people were knocking them off, but it was just literally every single brand ever was coming out and making $100+ jeans.
Freaking Jinkos.
I love Jinkos. I actually never had a pair of Jinkos. I really wanted a pair of Jinkos, but couldn't afford them.
I had a pair of hand-me-downs. I don't know if I ever wore them just because they were so baggy. I just couldn't do it.
That was the style at the time, Ricky.
That was a big no-no in my mother's household at the time.
I'm sure it was. Herman and this mysterious man who's trying on these counterfeit jeans are making just a bit too much of a ruckus, I guess, because Homer overhears them and comes out to see what all the laughing is about. A counterfeit jeans ring operating out of my car hole? I'm gonna tell everyone! Wait here!
Not so fast.
And I love Herman actually points a gun at Homer, and Homer immediately complies, saying, okay. He continues walking away, just much, much slower.
Might be the smartest thing Homer's ever done before. Maybe you should just stop entirely.
Homer is devastated by all of this, though. How could you? We've all thought about counterfeiting jeans at one time or another, but what about the victims? Hard-working designers like Calvin Klein, Gloria Vanderbilt, or Antoine Bugleboy.
I want to know
These
about that
are
guy.
the people who saw an overcrowded marketplace and said, me too. Speaking of being ahead of their time.
Oh, gosh. No. Let's not tie those two together. I think they're two separate things, but good job, boss.
Well, Herman's ready to move in on Homer, but fortunately for him, his wife cop is there.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
Oh no, it's Gloria Vanderbilt out for revenge.
No, it's Officer Simpson of the police.
As Marge starts to take control of the situation, Herman actually rolls out of the way and gets his gun pointed at Marge. Homer actually tries to step in and be the hero here for just a second, saying to take him and leave the girls out of this.
Okay.
He's very surprised when Herman is quick to agree.
Homer!
It's too late for me, Marge. Sell the jeans and live like a queen.
Yeah. I love that line.
Again, this I've said this like 6 times probably, but another part that I just absolutely love, might be my favorite part of the episode. Marge is on the pursuit, and she actually chases them out into the backyard. And as she has her gun drawn, we first see Milhouse like very quickly pop out of a bush and is like, "Hey, is Bart home?"
And then Grandpa's pushing Maggie out for some reason in the backyard.
Yep. Just taking Maggie for a stroll. They say it so quickly. It's so funny. Yeah. And then my favorite here is actually a witch pops up over the yard, and we see it's Ned Flanders putting up Halloween decorations. But Marge actually shoots at this one and hits it square in the face.
Yeah, right in the forehead, right in between the eyes. I guess I am putting up the Halloween decorations a little early. Criticism accepted.
First of all, there's no such thing as too early on Halloween decorations. And second, how often does Ned get shot at in this show?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, he actually got shot like 2 times the other week.
Yeah, thank God for that oversized piece of the cross.
I'm gonna go inside now.
Yeah. So Marge sees that Homer is being drug up into the treehouse, and she begins her ascent. We see Lisa and Bart are actually cheering her on from the upstairs window, but Marge is still a mom first. Go back to bed. Don't make me come up there.
Oh.
Both Bart and Lisa kind of groan, but they turn out the lights. We can still see their eyeballs peeking out the window, though. It's great.
This is exactly what anybody would do in real life.
Herman has set a trap, it seems. He has his gun pointed at the only entrance to the treehouse with Homer in between. Only Herman doesn't know the treehouse quite as well as Marge does.
He gives a bad guy quip, too. He gives a very bad guy quip. Looks like your wife is embarking up the wrong tree.
Only Marge does know of a secret entrance, and she actually comes up from underneath and even says, "Every mother knows the secret entrance to her son's treehouse."
Oh, Marge, you saved my life. I'm sorry I teased you. You are a really good cop. I'm proud of you.
And they actually have a sweet embrace here, but Herman tries to take it to his advantage and grabs a pair of those counterfeit jeans and uses the rope tied to the treehouse to slide into his escape.
He's getting away! You blew it, Marge!
So quick to turn on her. I don't think so. And we immediately see the jeans start to rip.
Oh, foiled by my own shoddy merchandise!
Wah! He falls to the ground. I love outside, we actually see Herman is being wheeled into an ambulance, and in a really quiet, almost missable line in the background, you hear Abe cry out, "That's my ambulance! I called for it 4 hours ago!"
Yeah, and that's why I brought up the other line earlier about the guy talking about the background noise about you gave 3-Card Monty a bad name. There was that line and this line were very quiet and in the background, but like completely hilarious and easy to miss.
And they just didn't acknowledge him at all. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I love this next sequence too, though, because Homer starts to ask, "Marge, how did you know?"
The pants would rip?
No, what I was wondering was...
Years of buying pants for 2 active children and a full-seated husband has given me a 6th sense for shoddy stitching, which these jeans have in spades.
I love that she doesn't even acknowledge Homer's actual question, which we never find out, by the way.
No, we don't.
She is once again getting some heavy praise from her boss, though. "That's some nice work, Simpson, but we can't hold them. There's no evidence."
Yes, there is. There's a garage full of counterfeit jeans.
They've mysteriously disappeared. And we see all of the policemen standing around in brand new designer jeans. Looking good, boys.
That's it. There's too much corruption on this force. I quit.
Sorry to lose you, Simpson. And this again was a joke that Merkin just thought was so hilarious he wanted to do it a second time, even though it makes even less sense here. And maybe, I think I've said this a dozen times just this season, but in what might be the quickest Simpsons reset yet, 2 lines at the very end of this script as we cut back to the kitchen where we see the rest of the poker game standing by. Lenny declares, I don't think they're coming back.
All right, that does it. I'm looking at his cards. Ah, crap. I fold.
And we cut to black with the end of our 3rd act and the episode, The Springfield Connection, with some music inspired by the show Hill Street Blues, which was a very popular cop-based television show that ran from 1981 to 1987. And they actually, according to the commentary, had several places where there was musical cues to that series, but definitely very apparent in the closing music over the credits.
Oh, how sweet.
But that is going to do it for the Springfield Connection. Richie, was there anything else that you or that book of yours wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
Well, first I wanted to talk about my guidebook, The Simpsons, A Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family. When I saw the stuff you may have missed section, it looked from a distance like this huge paragraph of stuff. It was 2 notes. One was all the magazines that Marge was reading inside the store when the guy gave her the Sponge magazine, and you already went over all those. The other was everything that appeared on the sign at the beginning about them spraying, so there really was like no information on the stuff you may have missed. Me, on a personal level, this is, again, I said this at the top, one of the episodes that I've seen recently. I've seen this episode so many times, but to sound like a broken record here, it's still fantastic. Like, this episode's so cool. I love to see like a really strong Marge episode that people uniformly think is just an all-around great episode. But again, I didn't remember those 2 lines that we just touched on, and I love it. I love it, man, that we can come back even this far along and still catch stuff that I've never heard or seen before. And I just think that just speaks volumes to everybody that works on the show. So I very much enjoyed the Springfield Connection.
Yeah, it's really nice to see a Marge episode where she gets to do something cool, and this was really cool. And Marge showed off even more of how much of a badass she is, even though we've seen it time and time again. I think that sometimes you forget just how incredible of a woman she is. And she had some real-life inspiration in this episode. Kind of a funny story of how this episode idea came to be is from our recent guest, Mike Reese. You see, his wife Denise at this time was considering becoming a police officer herself, kind of out of the blue it seemed. And while she never actually became a cop, she did go far enough with the pursuit of it that it became the inspiration for this episode.
That's so cool. I love how writers can take things from their personal lives and actually implement it onto the stuff they're writing.
Yeah, it's a very fun little thing that you get to see real life stories. And again, a lot of the stuff comes from the commentary, which is just fascinating to hear where these ideas come from. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. We again want to thank you so much for coming along on this journey through the golden age of The Simpsons and beyond with us. We are getting very close to the end of season 6, Richie. We only have a couple more smash hit episodes to get to. Real quick, before we cut out, where can everyone follow you online?
You can follow me on Twitter at theWizKid23. Also, you can follow our show on Twitter as well at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY. That works all over social media on Facebook, Instagram. Check out YouTube as well. Just go find us and spread us all over the world.
Spread us out as thin as you can. You can follow me everywhere online at MrMostDaysOff. Come back next week. Richie and I are so excited. We are coming to the end of season 6, as I said. There's only 2 episodes left. One of them going to be a contender for best episode ever. And I know it's tough to say that before we get there. I don't want to jinx anything, but
I'm nervous, man. I'm so nervous.
Constantly. It comes up constantly on the top episodes of all-time lists. We're going to be discussing Lemon of Troy.
And it may be too late for us, guys, but you can listen to our podcast and live like queens.
Until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Hey, this is the Toph. host of the Gravity Beard Podcast, a variety show with interviews and discussions on a wide range of topics. Our guests have included a viral YouTube star, a former child actor. We've even had a guy on who may have solved the B.B. Cooper case. It's a delicious box of audio chocolate. You never know what you'll get. Find it on Podbean, iTunes, and other places you listen to podcasts. It's the Gravity Beard Podcast. It's what your ears will want to be listening to.